With Jose Mourinho leaving Tottenham, the club are now, of course, looking for a new manager, so here are 5 potential candidates. First off, and we have Julian Nagelsmann. Now, this one may be punching just a little bit above Tottenham's weight. At the moment, RB Leipzig are doing far better in their domestic league and in European competition than Spurs are, and on top of this, Nagelsmann has been linked with the soon-to-be vacant Bayern Munich job. Hansi Flick has announced his desire to leave Bayern Munich at the end of the season. They haven't got a replacement, and Nagelsmann is doing very well in the Bundesliga. Now, normally when a player does well in the Bundesliga that doesn't play for Bayern, they usually end up playing for Bayern at some point, so you can kind of see the natural progression. At the moment, it looks like Nagelsmann's favoured destination is Bayern Munich, but who knows, maybe he could be tempted by Spurs. The thing is, they're probably at a similar level to Leipzig when it comes to the players that they've got and the style of play that could be implemented in the squad with these current players. It's something that Nagelsmann has done very, very well, and in fact, his style of football probably lends itself towards Tottenham at the moment, maybe a little bit more than Bayern Munich do. Of course, when Bayern go into games, some 90% of them, 95% of them, they are dominant. They are trying to break down a team that's quite often with a low block. As for RB Leipzig, they're not necessarily always the favourites, so they've got to hit on the counter-attack, they've got to use quite a bit of speed and ingenuity whilst moving through the different transitions. So this is something that Nagelsmann has perfected. He's tried a few different tactics, pulled off some rather bizarre results in games that you didn't quite expect him to do something so crazy, and even led them to the Champions League semi-final last season. It's because of all of this and the fact that Spurs want to go back to a more Pochettino style of football rather than a Jose Mourinho style of football, why I think Nagelsmann would actually be a very good fit. On top of all of this, he could potentially bring a few players with him, the likes of Marcelo Bielsa especially. So, talking of managers that may fit the Pochettino style of football, and the next one comes from La Liga, and it is Marcelino. In fact, earlier this week, there were reports that Spurs have made contact with Athletic Bilbao over the potential signing of their manager. He's been around La Liga quite a bit, had a great job at Sevilla, Villarreal, took Valencia to consecutive top 4 finishes, and that's sort of what he'll be expected to do at Spurs. His very fitness-based, high-energy, brilliant brand of football would definitely, like along with Nagelsmann, fit in with the club. It's just whether or not he can take these players and really get them on board and have them trust him that he is the man to take them to the next level. The thing is, with him and his contract running out next summer, he may come a little bit cheaper rather than buying someone like Nagelsmann out of his Leipzig contract and a few other names around the Premier League as well. On top of this, Marcelino does have a track record in the last few years of getting to finals and winning some finals as well. He oversaw the defeat of Barcelona in the Spanish Super Cup this season. He also won the Copa del Rey with Valencia a few years ago and lost both finals from last season and this season, even though they were both played this season for Athletic Bilbao, to Sociedad and Barcelona. The fact that he's not winning all of these finals is a little bit of a worry, but the fact he's making them there in the first place would actually be a good thing for Spurs. Moving on then, and we've got an option from the Premier League. Now, of course, buying a player from the Premier League comes at a ridiculous price. Buying a manager will also be pretty damn expensive. And this one is Nuno Espero Santo at Wolves. Since Wolves have come up, he's done a very good job. Obviously, he took them into the Europa League. He managed to get them playing some brilliant football, but this season, things haven't gone so well. You can, of course, point to a few injury worries, but would Santo really be the man to take Spurs to the next step? In my opinion, he seems to be a bit of a project manager, if we can put it that way. Someone like, who else is similar to him? Pochettino when he first came to Spurs. Ralph Hasenhüttl at the moment. These are the guys that could implement a good style, get you playing some nice football, lead a project, bring through some young players, which is what Spurs want to do. But when it comes to having that killer edge, that ridiculous, ruthless ambition to take them to the top level and win them some trophies, I'm not quite sure he's up there. Having said that, we haven't really seen him given the budget, given the players, no disrespect to Wolves, to be able to go and prove that he can do that kind of job. So I'm not going to judge him on this ability just yet. As for being man manager, he does seem to have a very good relationship with his player at Wolves, and that's something that Spurs are eager to get back into the dressing room. That sense of togetherness, that sense of really appreciating one another and dying for each other on the pitch. Moving on to number 4, this one could be a little bit left of field. What about Steven Gerrard? Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone's going to point to the likes of Frank Lampard. That didn't quite work out. Things for Mikel Arteta are going so-so. For Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they're actually going very well. There seems to be the stigma around former players, certainly recent former players, who are becoming managers, and you kind of say they've got a brilliant legacy that's still pretty fresh in the memory from retiring, so they'd be a good manager. but then also they're quite inexperienced. Would they actually be good or not? In my eyes, Steven Gerrard is going to be a fantastic manager. Whether he goes to Spurs or not, whether he goes eventually to Liverpool, whether he stays at Rangers, whatever happens, you can clearly see from the way he's dismantled Celtic's domination in the Scottish Premier League, taken Rangers far in Europe, completely changed how they've played, made them to an attacking threat, an unbeaten season in the Scottish Premier League. Gerrard really does have the ability as a manager and as a coach as well. He's someone who would command respect, not necessarily because of what he's done the last few years, although that does deserve some respect in the managerial world, but of course because of his time on the pitch as well for Liverpool and England. I think he would actually be a really good appointment, but personally, I can't see him really moving to a Premier League club unless it's Liverpool, although he could be a rather good appointment for the North London side. And lastly but not least, again, another Premier League one, and this one, when we're talking about buying managers, would cost an absolute fortune, and it's Brendan Rodgers moving from Leicester to Tottenham. So when you talk about Mauricio Pochettino and coming through a few years ago at Spurs, he was bringing some impressive attacking football. It was young players, it was making good signings, it was very much a feeling of togetherness, very much a manager that the players could believe in and they could talk to. That is everything that Brendan Rodgers is as well. He had that feeling going on at Liverpool and they very nearly won the title. He took Celtic to unprecedented heights with a treble on the cards. But he also jumped ship for Leicester. He also jumped ship at quite a few clubs, and I'm not entirely sure that this is completely off the table. One thing that will make it off the table is that if Leicester get into the Champions League. If they're in the Champions League, he'll definitely stay, even if it's just for one season, to see that job through, and especially if Spurs don't make it into the Champions League. Chances are if Leicester do, Spurs won't. But, and here's the big but, if they don't, they're in the Europa League, Spurs maybe in the Conference League or worse, not even in any European competition. The chance to move to Tottenham, to play with arguably a bigger budget, to arguably have the power to hold on to more of their key players, because there's been a lot of talk, the likes of Wilfred and Didi potentially leaving the club at Leicester. You know, they could lose James Maddison, Chagla Soyuncu in the past. And I'm not saying this because I think you should move to Spurs. In the past, they have lost the likes of Harry Maguire. They have lost the likes of Riyad Mahrez. They did very well to hold on to Jamie Vardy. I just think that if Spurs can prove they're going to hold on to players, bring a lot of money in the summer and bring in whichever players Rodgers likes, he could be very tempted by the proposition. Of course, that's just my opinion on it, and you guys can let me know yours in the comment section down below. Whilst you're at it, give us a big thumbs up, and thank you so much for all of your support. Check out everything else we've got going on OneFootball, and until next time, I will see you guys later.